providing pet grooming services for over 10 years. Your dog's comfort is very important to us, so we take the time to treat your pet with care, love, and professional attention it deserves.
We are live in the Santan studios of CAClive, and we're getting a little bit of a late start, but Joe, how you feeling?
You know, I would like to say I'm feeling 1,000,000%, but I'm not today, unfortunately.
Well, I know that this last week, I know Dan Bush did the show, and I was out of town, and you know, we've talked repeatedly about our families and how much the fluid's going around, and
right.
And then about 4 weeks after the flu, I was still coughing, and I ended up with a sinus infection, which you're talking, that's how you're feeling right now.
Yes, right now.
It's brutal, so I know you are struggling. So we'll get you through the show today, and we appreciate our guest hanging in there. Joining us today, it's probably appropriate because we're going to talk health information management, and joining us is Sandra Brightwell and Marianne Jeffrey from Central Arizona College's Health Information Management Program. Welcome to both of you, and thank you for being patient. We know Joe's under the weather there, and he's going to try to keep from coughing. But before we get into the program itself, this winter really has been brutal for sickness and stuff. And in terms of the health information management, how does that impact people that are working in this field? Is just create more paperwork?
Sure. In the clinic setting, I would imagine that does cause havoc with the paper part of it and the documentation of all the visits. But it also impacts the staff. If you're sick, don't come to work. And so they may be down-staffed to treat all of the influx.
It was also a requirement of all the Banner facilities for the first time that everyone have a flu shot. It was required. You couldn't intern, you couldn't volunteer or anything without having that flu shot. Otherwise, you had to wear a mask.
Now, somebody like, I've never been able to get the flu shot because I'm allergic to eggs. Are there options for somebody like me? Or I would just have to wear a mask if I worked in that environment.
You'd have to wear a mask.
So it's I went in one time and they asked, and they're like, "No, you can't get a flu shot."
You know, I've seen them wearing masks at like Costco now in the in the food area, full masks. Is that because they didn't get a flu shot, maybe?
Or they're sick. Yes.
But the best advice is stay at home. If you're sick, don't come to work. So, well, Sandra and Marianne are joining us today on CAClive to talk about Central Arizona College's Health Information Management Program, and it's based out of the Superstition Mountain campus, but students can also take it at the Signal Peak campus, or can they take these programs throughout the whole district?
The way the program's designed is that the classes are available online, so that attracts students from anywhere in the district as well as the country.
I know we're going to get a bunch of phone calls today, and Joe's going to give out the number, but health information management, that term, what does that mean?
It is quite
large?
Yes. Basically, that it started out as medical records. People considered us as the experts in handling medical records. The term health information's kind of evolved in the last 10 years, and just to make it sound a little bit more robust, and it encompasses not just the paper record, but the documentation and all the processes that involve in that part of the patient's care, as well as the reimbursement piece to the facilities and everything in between.
Is for somebody that's interested in this type of program, what kind of background do you need?
If you're interested in this type of program, it's suited for individuals that have an interest in healthcare, but perhaps are not into the touchy-feely part of healthcare. So Marianne and I have joked about there's hands-on and there's hands-off, and we're hands-off.
I started promoting our program that way when I came into the program, and we achieved accreditation in 2009. And I said, you know, there are people who want to touch patients and people who don't, and we're the folks who don't want to touch, but we want to be a part of that. We want to code correctly. We want to work with the physicians and the nurses, and we want to be a part of that environment. So it's a wonderful opportunity. And the whole industry is changing over from ICD-9 to ICD-10 next year, which is all over the country. Every other country besides America has already done that, and so that's coming on real quick. And so that's our area of expertise. And we're the coders and the billers and the keepers of the information. We do the data. We do mega data now and big data and all those new terms that they've come across for that. But suddenly our whole industry is on the forefront of everyone's mind.
Explain that term ICD 9, 10. Explain what that is for people that don't know what that is.
International Classification of Diseases. When I first became an RHIT, it was ICD-8. We've had that now for 30-some years, you can imagine. We've had ICD-9, and now we're going to ICD-10. It's a classification system that puts a number on your diagnosis when you come into the clinic, the doctor's office, the hospital, whatever, and then your procedure is also coded, and that's what the insurance pays based on.
How important is it for people that are doing this job to make sure they're accurate and that they're careful? You said that they're not the people maybe don't want to be touchy-feely, the patients, but in a way you need to be with the paperwork because it can cause problems if you're not.
Absolutely critical. And our department chair always told us that she could tell when our people came in they were OCD. And we are. And it's okay. We don't have a problem with that. We alphabetize everything. Everything's in order, right, Sandra?
Look at my refrigerator.
Exactly.
But the skill set for individuals in our industry are those that, again, are not wanting the hands-on, touchy-feely part with patient care, but are interested in health care. Maybe more on the business side. Are extremely organized and detail-oriented, are up with technology and embrace technology because that's a big piece of our industry now. Our job is to make sure in the clinical setting that the documentation done by others is correct, and if it isn't, then hey doctor, you need to fix this, hey nurse, this needs to be fixed, and what have you. So we're the gatekeepers of the information to make sure that it is documented correctly, not only for patient care, patient safety, and the welfare of the facility so they don't get sued, but also that facility's reimbursement can be maximized so that they are getting the appropriate amount of money paid for that type of care. So that's really a big part of what our job is to make sure that others are doing their job so that because the documentation lives forever, and so you want to make sure that it's correct in there.
So there's times when people will get sometimes you get a bill from your insurance company and it'll say something, either the paperwork wasn't filed properly or they haven't gotten the paperwork or was coded wrong. That's something that in the system has to go back and be fixed, and where you're teaching the students to be very careful, make sure this is done right.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly how it runs. And we do audit on a lot of those. We have a lot of our membership of American Health Information Management Association, which is our parent organization, and many of those people now are auditors who go out for the state, they go out for the insurance companies, they go out for the hospitals. Everybody has to do those audits to make sure that the data is absolutely correct.
Talk about the American Health Information Management Association. Is that something that's been around for a long time, or has it something that's developed over the years because of the proliferation of all the medical records for people?
Well, our group started actually, and we were called librarians. Back in 1928 is really when it all came to fruition, and then it has changed and evolved, thankfully. Nothing against librarians, we need you too, but it was sort of a label that we received early on, and it has evolved into the American Health Information Management Association. That official name took place in 1991, and there are over 65,000 members in the U.S., and it is, like Marianne mentioned, the mothership of our industry and our profession, and provides guidance and the credentials, and really keeps everything, streamlined, and promotes the profession, which is an important piece in this day and age as things are changing and becoming more electronic. Patients are embracing their care and wanting to be more involved in it versus just okay, doc, I'll do it. They're questioning things and getting second and third opinions and making sure that the meds they're on, they really need to. And so it's really changed, and health information has, I would say, in the last 10 years has really blossomed into other areas besides just the traditional medical record department, and we are certainly viewed as something much more than a librarian. Again, no offense.
For all you coders out there who are going, but what about AAPC? We also recognize the AAPC credential. That's American Academy of Professional Coders. They've been credentialing coders for quite some time also, and they're a very important organization. Those credentials are highly sought after also. People can hold both AAPC and AHIMA credentials, as well as the reimbursement specialists are now credentialed by American Medical Billers Association. Sorry, I almost got that one wrong. We have a lot of acronyms. Yeah,
we need to have acronym 101 class, I think.
And what I've kind of noticed in the healthcare field too is that Sandra, when you've said that the organization or your field started as librarians, that now it's gotten to the point almost 100 years later that there's almost specialties within the field, and that really has changed over the last 2 decades, 3 decades, maybe further. But has that created more jobs or the need for more education and training to get people in those right areas?
I would say it has caused both of those things to occur.
Mm-hmm.
The job outlook for our industry is growing. There's projections in the next 5 to 7 years that 50,000 more HIMers are going to be needed out there, whether it be in the acute setting, the clinical setting, insurance, legal, you name it, as well as the coding and reimbursement specifically. So the need for us is definitely there, and the demand, and so programs such as ourselves are really needed, and I think and believe that we will continue to have full cohorts come through our program and help supply those HIM folks that are needed in this area as well as throughout the country.
You're listening to CAClive. Tom Camillo, Joe Carrero. We're visiting with Sandra Brightwell and Marianne Jeffrey from the Health Information Management Program at Central Arizona College. And Joe, I know we have a lot of listeners out there because this is a field that a lot of people would like to get into. Why don't you give out the number, and we'll take some calls as we're going through the program today.
480-745-1033.
Sandra, let's kind of take it from the beginning. I'm an individual that's interested in the program, but I don't really know exactly if there's a specific direction I want to go. How do I start? Do I come visit with you or with one of the professors there?
Sure. How students approach us is they'll usually find on the accreditation body's website, or AHIMA's website, or the CAHIM website, which is the accreditation entity. They list the schools that are accredited in health information, and so that's one of the main areas where students get the name of the school and my name and the contact, and so they outreach either by phone or email to me to inquire about the program. And so we start conversations either by the phone, back and forth through email, or we have the students come in and visit with myself or Marianne. We're both pretty much at the SMC campus Monday through Friday full time, and so we're always available to talk to students that are interested. We have an application that they fill out to show their commitment to wanting to be in the program. Certainly we'd want them to become a student of CAC first, and then we have them take a HESI exam, which assesses their current level in certain subjects to make sure that we feel they're ready for the heavy content that are in our classes and the pace that it goes. So that's kind of the first step, but certainly we do the advising for these students, whether it's, do I want to do this, or I'm already in it for a year now, what am I going to do when I grow up and I'm done? So anywhere between those two areas, we sit down and talk to the student and kind of get a feel for, how did you hear about health information? Why do you think you want to do this? What do you, part of it do you think that you're attracted to and passionate about? What other experience have you had that lends you to think that this is the right thing for you? So we just kind of do sort of an investigation, if you will, of all of those things, and then help the student yeah, this sounds like it's a good thing for you, or once they find out what it is, they may decide that it's not for them.
Is it? You mentioned that you do it in groups of. Do you do it in groups of cohorts, or can people kind of take classes at their own pace, or is it sort of like we've talked to like Frank Mullica or Dion Winter about their programs. You're in for 2 years, and you're usually with the same group of people.
Well, the way that our curriculum is designed, because of the accreditation, it's pretty straightforward, where you have to take these classes first and then these classes, and they're only offered certain semesters. So there is a very regimented path for them to follow to achieve either the associate's degree or the certificate that we offer. However, we do allow students to enroll full-time as well as part-time, which does really aid to a lot of our students that are already in industry and balancing school with a job or family or what have you. So it will take them longer to achieve their ultimate goal, but we do allow them to go at part-time.
This is a great degree for working professionals, and we have a lot of working professionals in the industry right now that are doing our program because you can do it on a part-time basis. And we set the program up when we achieved accreditation that the program is online. So you can be in Michigan, you can be in Rhode Island, you can be in that beautiful state of Pennsylvania, you can be anywhere in the country and taking classes with us here at CAC and achieving that goal of being able to sit for your RHIT associate degree credential. And there are only 2 programs in Arizona, and many other states are like that, where there are, not so many programs. Not every community college achieves accreditation of their program.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the accreditation. We do have a phone call. Joe?
Damon from Coolidge is very interested, but he wants to know: is there any problem? In this field if he's had a felony in the past?
May I speak to that? Yes, there can be. All hospitals, when you're employed at a hospital, do a background search, and it's quite extensive. So it depends on what the felony was and how long ago. But it can be a deal breaker if they've got a stack of 50 applications, and that will come out. So we do caution people, and the reason is they're handling data. They're handling very sensitive data. They're handling socials and all that kind of thing.
Is this kind of field such as one that would have 50 or 75 resumes waiting to go through for employment, or?
Well, I don't know many jobs that don't have that in
no
this
kidding,
day and age.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Probably depends on the market and the location.
Right.
There could be
Absolutely.
many more than
Right.
that in one. I guess the best advice for this gentleman would be to come down, visit with the program,
Absolutely.
start there. Don't make a judgment based on your past history. I'm sure if you were in stealing identities, that would probably be a deal breaker, something like that. But if it was something else and you were young and it's 20 years later, there's people
Seriously,
change.
I had a student who had a felony because her dog the charges had just gotten out of control, and this was the reason for her felony. And I said, that's not going to be a deal breaker. Your dog is not going to be associated with you at work, so you keep on.
Your dog's not going to eat your paperwork.
Exactly.
So, the best thing to do is, why don't you give out the phone number where people can call, or the website or email addresses, how people can contact you.
This is Sandra, and I can be contacted directly at 480-677-7798. My email is sandra.brightwell@centralaz.edu. You also can find quite a bit of information about our program on the CAC website. If you drill down under divisions and programs, find health information, or health careers, and then you'll find the health information options with the associate's degree and the certificate. And Marianne?
I'm Marianne Jeffrey, so my email is Marianne, MARIANN .Jeffrey, JEFFREY @centralaz.edu. My phone number is 480 677-7775. And Sandra and I work right alongside each other, and, you know, we're both available to students. Here's one of the great things. Yesterday on NPR, I was listening to them talk about the mega classes that have 300, 400 people in their online class. And I did want to mention that in case anyone else is an NPR listener. You don't find that at Central Arizona College. We limit our class size to 30 students. And so
that's a great ratio then for student to professor. That's a great ratio.
Absolutely. So we have individual contact. We know the people in our program. We know the people in our classes when we teach. I've taught here at CAC since 2004. And I mean, you really have a wonderful opportunity to get to know your instructors.
Joe, looks like you got another call.
Nixon out of Queen Creek says, what about math? Always had a problem. How is the curriculum as far as advanced math?
Well, the associate's degree that we offer does include general education classes, which one of those is math. So you will have to survive that.
It's at the 101 level.
Yeah, it's just one
which
class.
is not even
So
college algebra.
That's not a big deal.
No.
And then in the associate's degree, we also have a 200 level class for healthcare statistics. So math does come into play there a little bit more. And it's one of those things that, you know, once you get through the program, you may decide that that piece of it isn't for you and that's not the direction that you're going to go in. But it is, you know, there is a little bit of math, but it's not too painful.
I wouldn't be afraid of the math, though, because if everybody that goes, all of us that have gone to college have some kind of math, English, whatever it is that had something, even presidents of colleges and universities had something that they struggled with through their college career. So go learn that, and that opens up a lot of doors for you.
Right.
Get that degree, get that certificate, and it's going to open up a lot of doors for you.
Absolutely.
And that's why CAC is here. So, Joe, I see the phones are like ringing off the hook over there a little bit. So
We've got some people calling in, that's for sure.
So, which is terrific. Sandra, let's talk a little bit about your background. Your title is Program Director. What is your role in the program, and how did you get involved, and what's your background?
Oh, yes, I am the program director for the health information area at CAC. Basically, my responsibilities are just to oversee the program, marketing of the program, managing the instructors, the adjunct instructors, working alongside with Marianne, textbook decisions, curriculum, making sure that we maintain our accreditation. There's many of those types of things, but oversee just the inner workings of the program. I've been in health information for about 21 years. I have a bachelor's degree in health information management, and I was working in the industry for a healthcare company for 17 years, and decided that, well, this opportunity came about, and it was something that spoke to me, and I felt it was a way that I could give back to the profession that I love in a different way. And so I am actually new to the college. I started here in August, and so it's been a great 6 months so far, and I look for several more to come down the road. So that's where I came, that's where I am, and that's where I'm headed.
It's funny because the impact that you've had since you've been on board, I would have thought you were here a lot longer. So you're doing a terrific job. Marianne, I know you've been with the college for a while. Talk about your role as a preceptor. And we've had preceptors on before, but for the audience, I always try to explain what a preceptor is, too.
A preceptor is someone who oversees the students when they go out to do their internship and go out into the community. We also do instruction of classes. Prior to Sandra coming on board full-time with us, I was the kind of interim director and have had many hats and many roles at Central Arizona College in the program. It was a passion of mine from 2004 when I first started teaching adjunct to realize that, you know, there was so much potential here and people wanted to be coders, and to bring that education up to really make it the best that it could be for both AAPC and a HEMA credentialed people. At that time, we had a very rudimentary AAPC course in coding at that time, so we've expanded that, and we have now a really good certificate in coding and reimbursement. A lot of people want to work in this industry because they think they want to work at home, and many coders do work at home. Hi, all you home coders. I know you're out there somewhere today. I, too, have done a home-based program, and it's a wonderful opportunity when you have small children at home to be flexible with your hours. But my caution in this day and age is that it takes a lot of training to do that work at home type of situation. Most of the coders that work at home have 2 to 5 years actual job experience before they ever go home. So it's not go to school and then I'm going to stay in my I've been in my jammies for school and now I'm going to be in my jammies working at home. Not quite that smooth a transition, but people do have that opportunity, and it's a really growing profession. More coders are going to be needed than ever before because of this conversion to ICD-10.
Yesterday, when we were prepping for this morning, we realized that between the two of us, we have about 55 years of experience in health information, so we have that to offer, and we're proud of that.
It's Joe, did you have another question?
No,
not
about the tickets.
Oh, about the tickets. Okay. Sandra, you said you had your bachelor's degree.
Mm-hmm.
So, if a student comes into CAC and gets their associate degree, can they? Obviously, they can go on to a 4-year institution and continue.
That's correct. They can go into a bachelor's program in Arizona. Unfortunately, at this current time, the state of Arizona does not offer a bachelor's degree in health information. So if they were to continue on in the state of Arizona, they would have to pick a little bit different type of bachelor's degree. However, if they wanted the bachelor's degree in health information, there are options available where they could achieve that in an online environment. Unfortunately, at the time, the state does not have that program, and I am networking and collaborating with our friends at Phoenix College, who is the other accredited program, and we're working together to see if we can change that and get a path established, like a 2+2 scenario with one of the universities in the state of Arizona to change that.
If I'm a student and I'm done after 2 years and I have an associate degree, my options are, obviously, I can be employable right away. It sounds like there's a lot of opportunities. There's an opportunity to go on to a 4-year institution, maybe outside of Arizona, at this time. If I decide to go in the working world, where would I work? We talked about home bases, but am I working for hospitals, private practice, insurance companies, all of that?
Yes, sure.
All
There's
of
many
that.
options. You could work for a vendor. You could work for a law firm, perhaps, if they wanted to have someone that could analyze the records that they're dealing with for
You can work for the
malpractice.
Government.
Yep, that's a good one.
Yeah.
You could teach.
Wow.
You could work
You
at
could
a
teach.
college. Hello. So there's lots of options out there. As Marianne mentioned, the transition from ICD-9 to ICD-10, no one's really sure how that's going to all shake out. That could mean more opportunities for new people in the field because it's a new concept in a sense, and so they don't have to teach an old dog new tricks. But on the other hand, employers may be not wanting to grasp that because they want the seasoned staff. So that one's to be determined. I have been reached or contacted by a healthcare company that's interested in pursuing hiring our graduates in the near future so they can supplement the pool that they have for remote coding options. There's lots of different things that our graduates could do, and one thing that Marianne and I definitely suggest is with our current students is get out there now and get some experience, because that is one of the challenges in our industry. Employers want to hire folks that have experience, and just graduating from college, how do I get the experience? So we're very much in favor of students trying to get some of that early on, whether they're volunteering at a hospital or a clinic or a doctor's office or taking a part-time job, maybe some of those odd shifts that the facilities have a difficult time finding somebody to work every Friday night from 5 to 11 or something. At least you can get your foot in the door. So we really encourage that for our students. But there's so many different options.
Also, both Casa Grande and Mesa and Phoenix proper, they all have active coding organizations, either with AAPC and then our own AZHIMA, which is the Arizona Health Information Management Association, offers coding roundtables. So this is continuing education, but this is education that you can come to. It's usually very reasonably priced, maybe $5 or $10 for the evening, and see, do I like coding? What's it about? I am in school and I want to pursue this. So you have opportunities from the very, very beginning.
And networking is key in our industry.
Networking is key.
And so the more that the students can start that process, the better. That it's the more you know, the who you know, where you're at is really valuable in our profession.
We're visiting with Sandra Brightwell and Marianne Jeffrey from the Health Information Management Program at Central Arizona College, and we have another call. Joe?
Cheyenne from Gilbert says very interested in this profession, but moving to Nebraska in 2015. Does this kind of degree work state to state, or do you have to learn individually per state?
That's a good question.
National accreditation. We are nationally accredited, so we're the perfect fit for this kind of people that are moving and you've got to move forthcoming. You can start the program with us. You can do the basics. You can do the first year. You can continue your classes online. When you sit for your registry exam, your credentialing exam, that's going to be a nationwide credential, and that's one of the best things that our profession offers.
The one thing that I can think about, the only thing that comes to mind right away with different states is that if you were handling the release of information aspect of health information, you would need to be familiar with those state laws because those are different. HIPAA does oversee health information, but depending on the HIPAA reg and the state reg, whichever is more stringent, that's what you have to go by. So what we practice here in Arizona may be different in Nebraska, if I believe that's where you said they were headed. So that would be the one thing that I would say they would need to become familiar with. But generally speaking, everything's very transferable.
And that's a training issue. Once you from state to state, you have to just get the training for that.
Sure.
But also HIPAA, everyone's heard of HIPAA, or if you haven't heard of it, you do know what it is. Now that you sign in at the doctor's office and they peel your name off, that's thanks to HIPAA. So HIPAA's privacy notices that you receive, that's all thanks to HIPAA. And HIPAA is a national law that's overseen by the CMS, and all these things are national issues that you're going to learn about in your program. So you really do have a degree that is transportable anywhere.
How, when HIPAA came into effect, how did that impact this field? Is that part of the records keeping that they need to make sure? Because obviously, my first experience with HIPAA was working in an athletic department, and suddenly with student athletes. Suddenly an athlete is injured on the field. We'd say, "Oh, it looks like they, rolled an ankle." Now, you can't even say that anymore, in a press box or anything because of the privacy rules. But obviously, this had a major impact on this area.
HIPAA means health insured privacy and portability and accountability. Yeah,
we know it, but we don't know it.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody knows exactly what HIPAA means, but that was a game changer in everything. And that's people are hired and fired now, over the information that's accessed, and that's a critical area. And the audit trails that are produced now by viewing a record. We had an issue not too long ago in Tucson when Gabby Giffords was shot, and that all happened down there. And there were people that, because they accessed records, were let go because of that audit trail. So this is a very, private, we protect your privacy. That's our job.
But on the other hand, HIPAA allowed for information to be exchanged easier for continuing care.
Right.
So if you were seeing a doctor in Coolidge and then you didn't like the end results, so you decided to go see a doctor in Tempe, and your doctor in Tempe wanted to see the records from the guy in Coolidge, prior to HIPAA, you would have to sign a release and make it all official before this doctor can get it to this doctor. But with HIPAA, because they have a need to see your record because they're continuing your care, and they're involved in your care, they can get the information from one doctor to the other without you having to bless it, because it is involved in your future care. And so that was a big part of it.
That's a great question with this field, because having somebody that moved from the East Coast to here and lived in Gilbert for a short time in Gold Canyon before finally settling out here, trying to find doctors. I'd like to get all my medical records in one spot with my current doctor, and I'm kind of thinking, how do I go about doing that? I can imagine for coders and people managing health information that's a little bit can be of a challenge, because you'll have somebody that has 5 or 6 different doctors over the course of time, and then our insurance changes from year to year. Mm-hmm. So you really have to pay attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, there's a couple efforts that HIMA has been putting forth. Probably within the last 6-7 years ago, they really had a big initiative for My PHR, and it was for patients to embrace their own health care and to keep track of it and to ask for copies of records and to keep it all together, so that way if that situation came about where you moved or you had a new doctor, you could provide the information to them. Here it is, instead of them having to go find it. The initiative was really to keep it electronically, and a push of it was to have a thumb drive with all your information on it. Well, you walk in a doc's office, he might not have a computer that can read it. So there's challenges with that method of having your information. And then
statewide, Governor Brewer has been instrumental. She just recently signed the new Medicaid Act, but she also has tried to encourage Arizona to initiate a health initiative enterprise that will bring the records together, that information can be better shared. And so that's worked on at the state and at the national level with our industry, with lawyers. We lobby on Capitol Hill and at the state Senate, and we're very influential in health information management. One of my favorite things about health information management is that it's a very professional group of people, because of the sensitivity of the information that we deal with. The people are very they're very professional. It's a great group of people to work with. And I'd also like to brag that we have students that graduated from CAC. I know of one in Idaho. I know of one in Wisconsin, Illinois, and so we've sent our graduates all over already. So
it's a terrific program, the Health Information Management Program at Central Arizona College. We're visiting with Sandra Brightwell and Marianne Jeffrey from the program. Joe, why don't you give out that number again in case anybody has any more questions?
That'd be 480-745-1033.
And we're taking questions at this time. This program began as part of the community-based job training grant back in 2007, which came from the federal government. And then it was accredited in 2009 and institutionalized in 2012, which meaning the grant ended and now the program's continuing. In that short time, Marianne, that you since like 2007, what have there been a lot? It seems like there's outside of CAC in this field, there's just a lot of changes that go on every year.
There are a lot of changes, and that's always compelling to keep track of that. Our coding books alone change every year, so we have new textbooks every time we teach a coding class because it has changed from year to year. The technology now is advancing so rapidly that you really have to be on top of it. And how we stay on top of what's going on in the industry is with our advisory board. And our advisory board consists of people at the hospitals, their directors of their programs at these hospitals, and they tell us, okay, this is what's happening out in the field and how we can best proceed from there.
Sandra, does that make it important for CAC and with all of you working the program to really stay on top of sort of the curriculum and what's being taught, because it could change so much from year to year?
Oh, absolutely. That is one of the most important pieces of our jobs, not only to embrace the students, but to make sure that the quality of the education that we're providing them is up to date and it's up to snuff, and that it's taught in a way that they will understand it and help them be successful in the industry. I attended a meeting this past weekend actually in Chicago and learned lots of new materials that will be available that are going to be offered in a more real-time capacity than the traditional textbook. So, we are really looking towards the future and how we can make sure that our curriculum, of course, it meets the accreditation, but that the content in the courses are relevant to the subject matter, but also to what's going on in the industry, because it does change annually, and we need to keep up with that, because we don't want to teach a student something and then when they graduate it's obsolete. Right.
We also utilize through AHEMA. AHEMA has a great resource which is backed by 3M and the big companies to develop and offer to students through AHEMA Virtual Lab the actual software that they will be utilizing in the hospitals.
So that would be great.
That is great, yeah.
So we have a lot of simulation type work that we have incorporated in the program, and that will continue to do so.
Absolutely.
Joe, you got a call.
Rachel, Santan Valley. Will this be offered at the new Santan Valley campus?
The program is offered district-wide, so yes.
So you have some opportunities both online and in the classroom. So the Santan campus will be opening up in August of 2013 for those out there listening. With the roofs are on the building, the walls are up. Well, I guess the walls have to be up for the roof to be up. So, but it's coming along greatly. And in this area of 80,000 people, I'm sure there's a lot of people that go back to school to do this, maybe for job retraining. Right.
A lot of nurses go back into the health information management profession or coding and reimbursement. They have the background, they have the anatomy and physiology. The anatomy and physiology at the higher level is key to learning ICD-10. It's a much more specific coding system than ICD-9 was, and so you have to have a lot more knowledge in order to apply those codes. So that's a real key thing, but we see hospitals building clinics all over the valley. We see them adding floors, adding people. So, whenever they increase their bed number, we have to increase the number of paperwork that's done too, unfortunately, in today's age. But that's how we exist.
We've talked about like the clinics and hospitals. Do places like pharmacies use any of this kind of technology, people to do stuff like that, or is that dealt on kind of the other end going into?
That's kind of the other end, but we do have CPT codes now for pharmacy, and you coders out there, you know what CPT codes are. They are current procedural terminology that converts the procedure that's done to a code number so that it's paid by the insurance company. So more and more, two big trends in this area are telemedicine and pharmacy codes are really increasing. Doctors' offices, in the past, they could take that front office person and train them a little bit themselves. Now with the new coding systems and it becoming more complicated, they're just not going to be able to do that. They're going to need a credentialed person also.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
When somebody is coding and doing their thing, what is to say they didn't do something backwards? What is the checks and balances system here to make sure that it goes to the end result and gets correctly coded for their insurance or wherever?
Well, there's a code editor issued by CMS, which is Centers for Medicaid Services, and every number that comes in is edited, and then if it's found to be incorrect, is sent back. In addition, you learn to double check yourself, you learn to double check each other with your coworkers, and it's really, when we say we're OCD, that's okay, because what we send out, we know the importance of that.
Do coders sometimes catch mistakes by those that are maybe doctors or nurses that are you see the pads and they can't, sometimes I like how you can't make heads or tails of it. But do they catch mistakes and say, hey, this is not?
Absolutely.
That's part of the job.
And that's got to be a challenge because there is a certain ego level that you're laughing. I know that my doctor doesn't have that. He's pretty good. So, but he emails me everything, which is terrific. So
that is terrific.
I get everything by email or test results for the next day, and if I need something from the pharmacy, he's got it plugged in. He does it right there. So I see the kind of the way the things are going. But I could see somebody doing this, and even a new graduate saying, hey, this isn't right, I'm questioning it, don't you question me. But
we query the physician, and there's a whole process for that, and that's a part of the education for both our associate and our certificate level graduates, that you learn to query appropriately, and you learn how
tactfully.
to approach, yes, and how to approach these people. Have you thought about it this way? Because that's how the reimbursement people are going to think about it.
So you don't just change something if you know it's wrong. You have to check.
We check.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Even if you see it and go, I know it's not that. You have to let them know.
It always goes back to the doctor or the provider. All providers have to code every procedure that they do. So that's physical therapists, that's speech therapists, that's pharmacy people that are doing actual, like when they give you your flu shot at the pharmacy, he has a CPT code for that. It's all the doctors, it's all the clinics, it's all the nurse practitioners, and like I say, telemedicine, especially in rural areas, is really going to be big.
You're listening to CAClive. Tom D. Camillo, Joe Carrero. We're talking Health Information Management Program at Central Arizona College with Sandra Brightwell and Marianne Jeffrey. One area that I've noticed where you're starting to see insurance claims is in the the vet area, like, you know what I mean, where you can buy insurance now. Yep. I gotta imagine that's a whole new avenue. Somebody's got to code that stuff, right?
Hadn't thought about that myself.
It's not coded yet, to my knowledge, because I have thought about those areas. That system has yet to be developed, but right now they just take, they pretty well, if you have insurance on your pet, then they pay, whatever they said they're going to pay. But as it becomes more complicated, who's to say?
I can see as people take advantage of it, the claims go up, the regulations start, kind of filing in, and all of a sudden you need people to do that.
That's kind of how it developed in healthcare, and I worked at a facility in Indiana that had come on board back in the 1800s. The land was donated, and we had the actual book that listed, okay, Joe Smith had an appendectomy as an emergency, and he paid with 12 chickens and a half a hog.
That's all.
Seriously.
Wow. That's awesome.
So that really did happen, and that's kind of now how we've evolved to all this technicality.
Sounds like the trade I just made.
I felt very at home, Joe.
Yeah, you could trade some of the reindeer. If an emergency. We're coming up on 11:30, but we're going to go over a little bit because we got started a little bit late. I do want to talk a little bit about. It's the Health Information Professionals Week, March 17th through the 23rd. And the reason we did this show today, because it's leading into next week, and it's spring break for us, so the CAC will be closed. But Sandra, talk about what is Health Information Professionals Week?
It's just a recognition week for those folks of us in the industry to kind of highlight that we're here. It's our spirit week, if you will, just like they have National Nurses Week or Sportscaster Week or whatever else might be out there. But it's a way for us to just kind of show that we're here, embrace individuals that may be interested in the profession. Pretty much just a week dedicated to our colleagues.
If you go on our website, AHIMA, AHIMA.org, you'll see a lot about our week, and you'll see lots of information about the credentialing that goes on in the profession. Just like nursing, physicians, all those healthcare professionals, the credentialing is absolutely key, and that's what's really going to make the difference in people's careers.
Now, if there's somebody that started at another institution in this field and moved, didn't have an opportunity to do it online, does CAC accept some of their credits in a transfer program? How does that work?
In that situation, the student would have official transcripts submitted from their prior college or school to CAC, and those would be evaluated by the registrar's area to see if they will be accepted. And it is a common practice that they may very well be. And so we could, my job would be to make sure that if it was an HIM class at a different institution, that it does meet the same criteria of a class that we offer. And if that's the case, then we can do a substitution, but it has to be course content equivalent, credit equivalent. And then, so if in that instance, we may have a student join our program that is further along than the rest of the folks that they're in classes with, or they start at a different time, but we would allow them to finish up. And we do have some restrictions. They do need to have at least 20 credit hours in our program. They can't just come to CAC and take the last class and graduate from CAC. So there are some parameters they need to work under.
So the best thing to do is make an appointment with an advisor, somebody from the program, kind of talk through to see what you have.
Absolutely.
The program itself is 71 credits for
for
the associate degree, and then 34 for the coding and reimbursement. Is that the certificate?
Yes.
So what's the difference between a certificate and a degree in this field? And do people start with a certificate and continue on to the degree?
You certainly can do that. You can start with the certificate and continue on. Different levels of education are very explicitly outlined by our parent organization, AHEMA, and you can sit for certain credentials. So to sit for the RHIT, which is what CAC offers, you have to have an associate degree and a specified program of study. Now, in addition to that, you can also earn coding credentials from either AAPC or AHEMA or both. Lots of people have lots of spaghetti after their name.
So, and is there a difference in terms of jobs that you can get from the I mean, obviously there must be turns from a certificate to a degree.
Oh,
and what are those
absolutely.
differences?
Well, the associate's degree, again, because we're an accredited program, the student hopefully will sit for their RHIT exam and get those credentials, and that shows an employer that they have a well-rounded education in all the areas of health information, and that they could potentially take multiple different types of jobs, where the coding and reimbursement certificate is focused on coding and reimbursement. So that's more
coder.
specialized piece of health information. So it just kind of depends on what the student's goal is and how we would advise which program maybe that would suit them best. And as Marianne said, definitely students may find themselves in the certificate program and then cross over to the associate's degree because they've decided to take things to a different level.
I can imagine that a lot of people that are trying to figure out what they want to do, if they haven't gone to college, going back to college, they are a little bit nervous. They get into a certificate program, they get comfortable doing the work and the routine, and at that moment go, yeah, I'm going now for the associate. I think a lot of people are like that.
Happens a lot. Absolutely, it does. And we're equipped to make that a seamless process at CAC, and we've had a great many students do that, and it really works well for our student body.
How about internships? Do you place students in internships where they have an opportunity to get that real experience,
We
like you
do.
talked about, how important it was?
It's required, actually.
It is.
Oh, it's required. So it's really like the practicum.
Right, right. And that's what a preceptor does, and I try to be very sensitive. As I've seen this student progress, does she have a special, or he? We have many men in our program also. Do they have an interest in data? Well, who will they fit best with? What kind of environment will they fit best in? Would it be a big hospital that has many levels for advancement, or would it be the smaller community hospital or even a clinic situation? So I try to be very, cognizant of that and help them be in a placement that will help them grow. I love working with students. Have I mentioned that?
It comes through.
Thanks.
So
Absolutely.
when they're going through their practicums and they've come back after the first couple of weeks, because there's a big difference from sitting in a classroom
It is.
than how you are when you go into a business environment and what the expectation is, especially, it doesn't matter if you're getting paid or not, or if you're interning or,
Or volunteering. Right.
There is still an expectation that you will conduct yourself a certain way.
Absolutely.
What do you hear from the students after they start the practicums?
Oh, the students are often surprised at just how big the departments are, how important to the overall functioning of the hospital that these jobs are, and it's things that most people have never even thought about or never even seen. And here it is really working out. But that's why we actively encourage students to try to volunteer in a hospital, find out what that hospital environment environment is like. Find out what's going on out there. And, we have some very professional students that are going to be great in our industry someday. I'm working already with our summer practicum students, even though practicum will not start until the end of May. I'm working with them right now. We're getting all their immunizations. We're, talking about what's going to be expected of you at the hospital. Where do you want to be placed? So it's a much longer process than just the 10-week summer session of summer.
And the practicums last 10
Yes.
weeks?
Yes.
Is that what they're looking at? Do a lot of the students get hired after that at those locations?
They do, and often they get job offers from those facilities where they've been placed. It just depends. It's been kind of rough over the last 2 or 3 years, but now the forecast is that the numbers of needed employees is going to go up with ICD-10 once again.
Is there a salary range that students start at, or does it really depend on the company and the type of work?
It does depend on many different factors. I was looking at a resource yesterday that did some salary studies, and they categorized it by geographic area, by the type of job, by the education, and all that kind of thing. And you saw things from the low end of $31,000 up to an executive and making 6 figures. So it's
Wow.
kind of over time you can achieve pretty well, but for a new person, it's probably between the $30,000 to $50,000 range that they would look for to start out with, depending again on which position they find themselves in.
Well, we spent it's probably one of our longest shows, spent almost an hour talking about this health information technology, the health information management, program at Central Arizona College. We appreciate both of you coming in. Let's give out your contact information again, and then we'd like to have you back on. We talked about this before the show, is to bring some of your successful students on.
Absolutely.
Maybe we could do something during the summer or after they're done their practicums or once they get hired. It would be really great to get the students on that have had success. So, Sandra, why don't you give out your contact information first, and then Mary Ann, and then if people are interested, they can get a hold of you to find out more about the program.
Oh, great. I'm the program director. This is Sandra Brightwell, and I can be reached directly at 480-677-7798. And my email is sandra.brightwell@centralaz.edu.
And I'm Mary Ann Jeffrey. I'm the preceptor for the program. My number is 480-677-7775, and my email is my name. But I'd really like to encourage students to look on the Central Arizona website, centralaz.edu. All of our information is on there. Class descriptions are on there. You can get a feel for what kind of classes and the nature of those that you're going to be able to take there. So refer often to that centralarizona.edu website.
Centralaz.edu is the main website, and then just look up the Health Information Management Program. Sandra, Mary Ann, thanks for joining us. We look forward to having you back again. Joe, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Next week, spring break. We're closed. I'm taking vacation. You're taking vacation, and then we'll have a best of next Thursday.
Sounds great.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh,
what is
great.
that?
That would be Sunday.
Aha.
And that's one of my favorite days.
Nice. I won't forget.
So, for Joe Carrera, I'm Tom D. Camillo. Thanks for listening to CAC Live. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks on KQCK.
Become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well. Their father's help did slowly go by.